Joining me now is Angelo Carusone, Chairman and President of Media Matters. Thanks for coming on the show tonight. I know that your organization has been aggressive in following Fox, what Fox is doing, but you all have also taken specific action in the course of this Dominion lawsuit. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, and I think, we have been following this very closely. Just to give an example, I mean, there's actually been 1,261 MyPillow ads on Fox News so far this year.
You guys have been counting. You're the unlucky souls that have been counting that.
But yes, I mean, we have taken action, and one of them is the follow-through on some of this. And I think the discussion you were having earlier about what's going to happen now, what's the consequences, where's the accountability, I think we're going to start to see it. And part of it is going to be financial, part of it's going to be their power, because they are sort of straddled between a rock and a hard place, and it's going to come from a series of cascading consequences. So the thing that we did is that we filed a complaint with the FEC. We need to pull the thread on what you were talking about in your intro about that advertisement that Rupert Murdoch acknowledged that he shared with the Trump campaign. That is an illegal contribution. It is very clear. The law is extremely well established on this. It says that corporations can't make a contribution, that non-material things of value, material things of value can be counted as a contribution, and that information about advertising strategy is considered a thing of value. So all of those criteria have been checked off. So we filed a complaint with the FEC and said, here's what Rupert Murdoch said he did. Here's what the FEC law is. Follow through on it now and give maximum accountability and consequences. So that's one piece. The other piece is that, and I think this does tie into this broader conversation where the power and the profit meet together, because Fox News derives a lot of its profit from leveraging its power, not just politically, but to really drive up their relationships with cable companies. Fox News is the second most expensive channel on everybody's cable bill.
Carriage fees, sub fees.
I mean, in fact, the dirty secret about Fox News is that they don't need a single ad to be profitable. They would still have a 90% profit margin if they had $0 in advertising revenue. And the same way that One American News was held accountable in part because of what they were pushing about the conspiracy theories, but it was also that they were overpriced. They were 6 times market rate. That's what the cable companies were paying for them. Fox News is overpriced right now. It's overpriced. They are not consistent with market rate. And part of the reason they're able to get those big prices is because the way that they leverage their audience for political power is they leverage their audiences during these cable fights. And yet they're a small minority of the larger cable consuming audience. So I am not an optimist. I sit in the fever swamps every day. I know
you're counting the MyPillow ads.
I see what this world is, how asymmetrical it is. But in this moment, we are at an inflection point. And I do think that there will be cascading consequences. I think shareholders will start taking action too. I've already seen 8 law firms begin to organize shareholders of Fox to say, wait, you breached fiduciary duty. You violated your responsibilities. And I think this is a moment. Now, it doesn't have to be. It's going to require consistency and persistence and action. But there is a real inflection point happening here.
There is the business side of Fox and how it can be sort of leveraged into, well, how punishment may be meted out on the business side. But then there's a sort of democratic, the philosophical, like the implications of punishing Fox or not punishing Fox when it comes to democracy. And the reality is that Fox has not been talking about this lawsuit on its air. Fox viewers may have no idea that the lawsuit is ongoing. They may not know anything about these depositions. Do you foresee any kind of future where the Fox News viewer, which is a viewer that, with all due respect to our MSNBC audience, is probably not watching this network, maybe not watching other networks, is very loyal to Fox, where that viewer is ever told the truth about what happened?
Yeah, I think possibly. Honestly, and here's why I say that. In part, it's that, what makes the Fox powerful is that it sits atop a large right-wing echo chamber. And that echo chamber right now is going through a big sorting. Rush Limbaugh's not around anymore. There's a lot more elbow room for audiences for people to grow their audiences. There's a lot of friction and discord. We saw some of that internal friction spill out with the Kevin McCarthy fight, with things that are happening now, even internally. So my only point is that there is this moment where actually that competitors, other right-wing media figures, and we've seen a little bit these cracks start to emerge, say, wait, Tucker's not loyal. They're not loyal. They're elitist. They're out to get us. Now, some of them will go further to the extreme, small parts. Some of them will say we got to find a better alternative. Some will move to more centrist publications. But what matters the most, and it gets into your point about democracy, nothing. will get better in any durable or consistent way unless we neutralize the destructive influence that Fox News has on our country and on our politics.
Angela Carusone from Media Matters with a dose of much-needed optimism about what might happen here. We will keep you posted. You keep us posted.
Thank you.
Thanks for sharing your time with me tonight.